Okay, so I have put pretty much everything together. The front panel is still off because I was cleaning it off, and before I actually put everything back together exactly, I want to make sure that everything powers on and is successful. I actually just tried a test boot and it started, but there was no post, so I'm thinking it's the power supply because I've had trouble with that power supply in the past. I thought maybe by chance it might just be incompatibility with a motherboard and it may work fine here, but seems that it is a bad power supply. But I'll try and give it another go. Everything is plugged in correctly. The motherboard is firmware updated and ready for AM3 plus processors. Everything seems to be in perfect working order, but let's turn the power back on here. Power light comes on successfully, and I'm going to press the power button. Fans all come on. I hear the optical drive kind of do something, but no post, and it is plugged in. So this is the second motherboard I've had this power supply plugged into in the last couple days, and it does the exact same thing. No post, fans come on, spin, nothing else. So it looks like I'm going to be putting in another power supply. So now I have the Antec 650 watt power supply installed, and this one should work. So this is my last one. If this one doesn't work, then we're going to have to get another one. I can already tell the RAM light is on. Success. Success. Amazing how that power supply. It's weird. Now I've only had on one occasion where I had a power supply that for some reason just did not like a certain motherboard. No idea why. Use it on any other motherboard, and I figured what if that's the case with the same thing, but it wasn't. So that power supply is bad. Alright, so I have the system up and running. It's pretty much all put together. I just got to put the side panel back on as soon as I'm done running through a few more of these tests. My friend is very anxious to get his computer up and running, especially I gave him a loaner computer, which is about the same as what his was, from parts that I had put together from just random things laying around from people's computers that they had just not cared about. So anyway, he's excited to get his new one, so I'm trying to finish this up so I can get this to him. I just wanted to show a video real quick of some things that I like about the system, and then some of the things that I think for anyone considering buying the system, if you wanted to know these things, that they might be a help to you. I'm currently running a stress test with ASUS and Unigine Heaven benchmark, which I saw on a Newegg episode on YouTube, AJ from ASUS, so thanks for showing this to me. I think it's a really great way to stress the entire system. I used to use Prime 95 quite a bit, but a lot of times, like he would say, you can only stress one part of the system, where in a realistic situation you might actually do one small thing different, where it isn't possible to entirely test every scenario, but I think that this will definitely give a more comprehensive stress test, and for most situations, than just running Prime 95, which is still a great stress test, not that it's a bad one, but I do like the ASUS stress testing, the benchmarking, and things like that, and the Unigine benchmark, which is running, so both at the same time. I will say, for some pros to the system, the CPU runs extremely cool. So I know when people see the heatsink and fan that it normally comes with, it doesn't seem to be all that much, but really it really doesn't run very hot, so it is a very cool CPU. With the Zalman heatsink and fan that I have on mine, it started off low fan speeds. It was around 30 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Celsius, which is really great. And with the fan on low, under extreme stress testing, it'll maybe get up to about maybe 50 degrees Celsius on the extreme benchmarks. if it's on fans on high, it drops it down to about 48. Right now, it looks like it's at 48 degrees Celsius. So, and it is overclocked to 4.6 gigahertz, and I upped the HT link to 2400, and I left the system bus at 200. Did not change that at all. I really didn't want to take the time to go through and tweak every little thing, so I was just looking to get him up a good speed, up and running, because he wants to get it, and I don't blame him, especially for having something a lot older. I'll show you the system. You can see the nuclear RAM, which is kind of cool. I'm actually quite impressed with this heatsink and fan. I mean, he had it on his computer for about 2 years out of the 6 that he had it. So, and it's still going real strong. It works really, really well. Everything maintains its pretty cool and quiet nature. The one thing he probably could get in the future is a new hard drive. This one is an older SATA. It may even be a SATA 1.5, and not even a 3.0, but it could be a 3.0, I can't remember. It's been a while. And there's the Antec Earthwatts 650 watt, so he shouldn't need a power supply for a while. So, and everything's running pretty well. I've discovered pretty much the performance of the 6790, sorry, is pretty much the same as an old 4890, with, of course, the newer shader support and things like that, and obviously more transistors and different core, but essentially 800 unified shaders. Memory speed stock was the same. I overclocked it to 925, which is what I had my 4890 at one time, and it's the same gigatexels and gigapixels per second, so pretty cool. But it performs quite well, and for the games he'll be playing, he'll be doing Skyrim, World of Warcraft, and some of those other ones, then it'll be pretty cool. So, just a couple other things about the CPU. So the good thing is that it does run very, very cool. So if you don't have extra cooling, or you don't want to spend a lot of money on it for this CPU, you really don't have to. At that same note, you can get it to 4.6 very easily just by upping the multiplier. I had to adjust the voltage, I think, by a very small increment, 1 or 2 steps, not very much at all. I did try to leave the cool and quiet technology on, which at first it was working, but then as I ran some more stress tests, it ended up not, actually maybe even leaving me out some performance. So when I turned it off, it seemed to give me better performance. At the same time, it also, there was less errors and things like that, so, or I should say no errors. So I went ahead and turned it off, hoping I could give it to him, but really the whole system only consumes maybe 90 watts when it's sitting idle, which is less than my system. So I thought that was pretty good, and the top, I think, peak wattage I've seen so far is maybe like 230 or 235, and that's where it is right now, stress test max. So overall, very decent power consumption, not very bad. But the one thing that I was a little disappointed about was that the fact that at 4.6 gigahertz, the CPU score for 3D Mark and some other benchmarks was about equal to or just less than my CPU, the Athlon 640, overclocked to 3.7. So I know that one of the things that people tend to talk about and not really like on the new AMD FX chips is the fact that, of course, the instructions per clock cycle kind of took a step back. But the fact that it was boasted on a lot, saying it was going to have great performance, and really the performance isn't bad, it's just kind of took a step sideways rather than forwards. The memory benchmarks are fantastic. The memory controller is better on the FX chip. However, the performance of the chip itself seems to still be lacking a little bit. So I think if the performance that it has at 4.6 gigahertz was what it was at 3.6, and you could increase it from there, I think it'd have been a whole new story. But overall, for a budget build, a $100 processor, it really does a great job, because the Athlon 64, I think, or the Athlon 2 640 X4 chip was a $100 chip for a long time, so about the same price. You get more cash, and maybe there'll be some things that support it, more features on it in the future. But that was one disappointment that I had overall. So but that was to be a little bit expected, seeing as that's the common thing with the FX chip at this time. So the score was about as equal to that, but maybe there'll be some features. However, the realistic games that I've played, the benchmarks, the realistic situations seem to be unaffected in most cases, and I think it'll end up being a decent CPU for him. I guess kind of looking at the glass half full. So I'm sure there'll be something else that I'm thinking about that I want to say. Anybody thinking about this ASUS M5 A97 motherboard, it is fantastic budget board. I love the EUFI, which I'll show you in a few minutes. But memory test is great. It went ahead and just used my Intel specification of the memory. It's running at 1600 megahertz, 79824. So definitely awesome feature, well built. I like the layout of the board, and overall the features are quite nice for a $100 motherboard. So I'll go ahead and show you some of the games and the way they perform, and then I'll show you the EUFI.